Okay, so good afternoon. Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina Ruiz, and you are in the session that is AI in the Future of Teaching and Why Great Teachers Matter More Than Ever. So, I want to thank you for coming to my session. I know AI can feel exciting, overwhelming, confusing, or maybe even a little intimidating, depending on where you are with it. Today is not about becoming an AI expert. It's about understanding how AI can support teachers while keeping the human side of teaching at the center. So, whether you are thinking about becoming a teacher, whether you are a current teacher, whether you know a teacher, or whether you just wanted to see what this session was all about, you will learn some few tips and maybe some new resources that you have not heard of. So, we're going to get into it today. So, a little bit about me. Again, as I mentioned, my name is Sabrina, and I'm a K-12 pathway coordinator. So I work with Glendale Community College, Glendale and Burbank Unified. I work with their dual enrollment articulation, grant support, and then I also adjunct with West LA Community College. So I work on the K-12 as well as the community college side, and then I'm on the Los Angeles Regional Consortium AI Task Force. So everything today is going to be practical and usable. So I'm trying to keep everything simple, not overcomplicate anything for you. So AI. We know that AI can plan a lesson probably in about 10 to 15 seconds. So why would your students actually need you? What would they need you for? So before we continue, I just want to kind of read the room and see if you've used AI, type in the chat yes or no. Wonderful. I see a lot of yeses and some nos, so that's good too. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to keep it, like I said, very simple. We're going to go over what is AI and at its core, how AI can help save time so teachers can focus more on students. So we already know that students are using AI. That's the reality of it, whether we like it or not, they're using it. So the question isn't if, it's about how we respond. And honestly, that's why teachers become even more important. So how can AI support teachers? AI can support teachers by helping them plan their lessons, assessments, activities, brainstorming, thought partners, getting feedback, project-based learning. But ultimately, it comes down to the teacher. The teacher is the person that decides what the lesson is going to be, how is it going to be given, how is it going to be assessed, and as well as the decision maker in the prompting process with AI. So AI will only give you what you prompt it to do. So that's very important. That for a very first lesson that you should know about AI is the prompting. So thinking about that, if you already currently are a teacher or you're thinking about teaching, or even if you're utilizing it as a college student, how long does it usually take you to complete an assignment, or how long does it usually take you to lesson plan? So if you can answer in the chat, if you're a teacher, how long does it take you to lesson plan? Or if you're using it for work purposes, how long does it usually take you to complete a task without using AI? Awesome. I can see in the chat that there's some responses. It says it takes a couple hours. So understanding that process, that it takes a couple hours, I'm going to show you a live demo right now. I'm going to share my screen and show you what the process looks like. So the first prompt we're going to look at is using OpenAI ChatGPT. So we're going to create a lesson and we're going to see how long it takes us to create a lesson using ChatGPT. So the prompt that I put into ChatGPT is create a 45-minute high school lesson plan on entrepreneurship that includes a learning objective, a warm up, collaborative activity, as well as an exit ticket. And that's going to be my first prompt. So as you can see, within minutes, you can get a lesson plan created. Now, what it comes down to is what your topic is, what you want the ultimately students to learn, and how you customize it to your classroom and what you want students to know. And then you can go even further. So I'm going to say, make it engaging and student centered. So this is for high school students. Again, you can see how fast it's coming through as far as building the next big idea. This is an entrepreneurship class. What are the essential questions? What materials would you use? As well as classroom setup, lesson agenda, and of course, going through what the problems would be, the tasks, any mini discussions. Now, this is not to say that you would just use this lesson solely. You would use this in conjunction with your curriculum and depending on what your goals are, whether this seems to be a CTE career education course. You can also use this for general education as well as any other types of lessons in K through 12 or college level courses. So that's one, ChatGPT. So that's one tool. So that could normally take you a few hours to complete. And that could be done in a few minutes, depending on, you could also upload your standards in here, your curriculum standards, and that would help you narrow it down to exactly what you want the lesson to be. So now I'd like you to drop one task in the chat that takes too long. So customization with ChatGPT. If you notice, you have to keep prompting. So if you have, depending on your account level that you have with ChatGPT, I would say it does take a little bit longer to create the prompt and get the response that you'd like. But what I use is the ChatGPT Pro. If you're using the free version, it'll time you out. It'll only give you so many times that you can ask it questions. But if you have a pro version, then you can ask it more questions and it'll give you more efficient answers. So I'm not saying you have to get the pro version, but it does give you more efficient responses. And then again, it goes back to the prompting. So if you have a set prompt or you create a rubric in ChatGPT, you can continually use that every week. So that will cut down on the time you have to customize it. So that's one tip that I would use on that. And then going back to why do teachers matter? So AI gives us the answers, but teaching gives you the thinking. So that's why, again, I'm saying that AI does help you in supporting resources as far as teaching, but teachers help you think. AI is not going to critically think for you. It's not going to give you that human interaction, the connection. So that's the difference that makes it matter more than ever. Let's see. So going back to our presentation, we went over one task that takes too long. It's a customizing the GPT, and then the human interaction. This is something that teachers can only build in their classroom. It's not going to happen through an AI app. It's not going to happen online. They're going to be in silos. So that's one thing. I know a lot of tasks and a lot of employers and a lot of people are saying that AI is going to take over their jobs. And it's not. AI cannot do the human connection is not going to be there. The mentorship that you receive from a teacher, the encouragement, the guidance, and again, that connection is irreplaceable. So we went over ChatGPT. I'm going to show you some things in Canva AI as well. So if you're familiar with Canva AI, type in the chat yes or no. Wonderful. So this is one of my favorite AI tools that I use on a weekly basis to create work presentations as well as different things in the classroom when I'm teaching curriculum online. And I already have a prompt in here. I put create a presentation about financial literacy. If you are already have a student Canva account, you're able to utilize this feature as well as an educator account. So if you're interested in figuring out how you'd be able to do that, you go to canva.com and then you would sign in under your EDU email address. So the prompt is create a presentation about financial literacy for high school students. And we're going to see what it brings us. So it's thinking a little bit. It takes a few minutes for it to create the presentation and it'll kind of give you a layout of the presentation and then you can edit it. And I know being that it is a requirement for financial literacy for high school students now to take financial literacy course, this would be a helpful presentation. And then you can also customize it here, as I mentioned. So you can generate a design. So if I'm happy with what they put on the screen here, I can edit it. I can put my standards in here as well. If there's something specific that I want them to be engaged in, I would change it here. But for the example here, I'm just going to click generate so that way you can kind of see the process of what it takes. And so now it's creating a full presentation design based upon what I selected, the topic of financial literacy. So now here it's created this presentation for me. And let me see if I can make it bigger so you can see it. So let me know in the chat if that helps, if I made the screen a little bigger, if you can see the presentation. And if not, I'll also create a resource with the prompts in case you want to try it out on your own.
Sabrina, would you be able to move the browser in the middle? So it looks like you have a really long monitor.
Let me see.
Oh, I see. There we go.
There. So now it's created the presentation. And if you're happy with the results, you can keep this presentation. If not, you can change it. You can modify the presentation any way you would like. And that's just one feature. You can make flyers, projects, presentations. This is a website that you can utilize for lesson planning. Since this session is about teachers, I would say utilizing for lesson planning. And then I'm going to get into Google Gemini as well. So if you're familiar with your Google Drive, if you have a Google Drive, you'll go to your settings and you would look at Gemini, which is it's in the right corner on the toolbar, and you would click on Gemini, and then you would start a chat with Gemini. And you can also feed it text to turn into a presentation. I did see that comment in the chat. So now we're looking at Gemini, and we're going to ask Gemini something about plagiarism, since that is an issue with students and plagiarism in the school system. So we're going to ask it to explain plagiarism as high school in a high school that would, in a way that high school students would understand it. So this would be useful for teachers to turn into a possible lesson plan, a discussion, a project-based learning assignment to understand AI. And a lot of times what I do in my classes is I ask my students, I give them usage of AI. I tell them, if you're going to use AI, then just let me know what you used it for and what part of the project you used it in, and make sure you cite that you used AI. So making sure that you let your students know that is a big factor. So what this did here is it's telling us kind of what it is that you can utilize it responsibly with brainstorming, explaining it, tutoring, getting feedback. The thing that high school students don't understand is how to properly use AI. And a lot of the school districts don't have set guidelines on the policies. So that's where we have a lot of issues on both sides of the K-12 and the community college. So looking at this, it says the bottom line is you're not just grading a piece of paper, you're grading the learning process. So that's why, again, when I let my students use AI in the college courses, I make sure that they understand what they're utilizing AI and that they also need to double check the work for AI, because it does have hallucinations and it doesn't give you accurate information all the time. Just like when Google came out and how people started using Wikipedia, they have to verify the information. So just like that, I advise my students the same thing. Don't depend solely on AI. It's not going to give you the correct answer every time. And then I want to share a resource. I'll make my screen bigger so you can find it. And the resource is the Lark Learning AI Library. So as I mentioned, I work with the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, and within that we have a Lark AI task force. And so we do offer free webinars. We actually have one tomorrow, and all of our previous webinars are in this page as well, and you can go back to see them. They're all recorded. So if you would like to continue learning more about AI, these are optional resources if you'd like to continue learning more. We have several sessions that are coming up in the next few months, and you can also learn what it is, how to incorporate AI as a thought partner. On the past sessions we've had using AI as an assistant for teachers. There's specific industry sectors that are mentioned in our AI sessions. And I feel like this would be the best tool for you to start. If you already are using some AI and you'd like to build upon those skills, this would be the place to go. So you would go to the Lark, and this is embedded in the PDF presentation that you'll be receiving as well. And you can go into the Lark website under the Lark AI library and gain more insight on what it is, how you can learn from it, and then yourself, what you can gain for it and what's in it for you to learn, whether you're interested in teaching or you're just interested in gaining more insight and upskilling on your AI. And let's get into a little data, because I did want to share what AI is, what the takeaways are, and how you can benefit from it. But then I also want to get into why we need more teachers. So I did a little research and we need over 100,000 teachers in the next decade. And I know depending on the district, this data may vary, but the average salary, depending on the district and your education level, could be up to 90,000 per year, and that's the average according to the California State Department of Education. And then the stability, honestly, it's got to be something that you want to do. It's got to be something that you want to do for, the community, for yourself, whether that is helping students or what you would like to do. You got to have a passion to be a teacher. It takes a certain individual to be passionate about teaching. Of course, you have the healthcare, you have a pension, you have the CalSTRS, but again, you have AI resources now that can help you save time. I know teachers spend so much time as a teacher, a high school teacher. I spend a lot of time grading. So, making lesson plans. And as a teacher, that was the biggest thing that took most of my time. It wasn't, I enjoyed the lesson plans. I enjoyed engaging with students. That was the best part of it, engaging in CTSOs, organizations for students, watching them learn and present. But again, you have to have that, people don't become teachers because of AI at all, because AI has been around, but we just now have started using it more so. They become teachers because they want to make a difference. Yes, Anita. So use the AI to grade. So it can help you support the work. But again, AI is not going to replace the teachers. AI is not going to replace the purpose and the reasoning, the why people become teachers. But it will save you time. It does save you a lot of time if you can start a system and create your rubrics. You can utilize it to create the meaningful work. And that way you can focus more time engaging with students and interacting with students and focus on what matters to you. And then you don't have to spend the weekends away from, whatever your hobbies or your family, taking that time away grading, because I've been there as well. And I understand that it does take a lot of time. And then I did leave time at the end because I do wanted to get into a discussion. If you like to discuss a little more about AI and how it's going to change the way we teach, because it already is. But it's never going to replace why people want to be teachers. I think of AI as a sidekick, kind of like an assistant that is there to help you. It's not there to replace you. It's not going to replace teachers. It is your thought partner. I always joke around and say, let me ask my assistant because I use AI thank you very much, Edward. I use AI for a lot of things besides work and when I'm planning things for my personal life as well, AI comes in handy. Sometimes it's not accurate. So as I mentioned, you do need to double check it. But as far as teaching and why you need to use it, I'm not saying you have to use it, but it does save you a lot of time to use AI. And there's so many different platforms, but I just gave three examples of how you can use AI to make your life a little bit easier. So, using it to create flyers, send out emails, double check your writing, double check your tone, create responses for students. If you're responding to them in a discussion, you can set a list or a rubric of what responsive you wanted to create for specific tasks, and you can just pretty much lay out your lesson planning ahead of time so that way it saves you time. I know it's a little scary, Jenny, to use AI, but I would say start with one tool and then see if you can use it from there. Start with one tool that you think is best for you, familiar with you. If you have, I would say Copilot too. I didn't get into Copilot because I know an hour session is not that long to get into all of the AI tools. It would take a series. So that's why I recommend going to the Lark AI library and kind of digging in there and listening to some of the sessions that are pre-recorded or getting on the subscription list so that way you can start getting involved in that. And if you are already working in education, there are several different platforms that are offering free trainings on AI. I know there's not a lot. Oh, Magic School is really good. I've used that as well. But it just depends on your preference of what platform you want to use for AI. I would say start with one and learn how to use that one really well, and then you can move on to the next one. I know I've introduced Canva to several of my colleagues, and I utilize that a lot, and it makes it easier. And I know that the ChatGPT imaging has really improved significantly in the past few months, and they continue upgrading the GPT versions of it. So it makes it easier to make infographics and make everything more visually appealing when you're creating lesson plans. That makes a difference. I went to a PD the other day for some of my teachers that I work with, and they told us that the attention span of a high school student is now down to 8 seconds. So it used to be 30 seconds and now it's 8 seconds. So that's a little alarming because getting 8 seconds of a high schooler's time and making sure that they're listening to what you have to get, the message you have to deliver to them, it takes a lot. So making sure that you continually embed that information and that you're able to get that information across to them, you can definitely utilize AI tools for that. But understanding that you as a teacher, you're the impact, and that's the biggest takeaway that you can take away from this session today is being a teacher is a rewarding job, and you're the person that's going to be making the impact. Yes, they can Google anything, they can look up anything, and they have been doing that, students. But again, you got to make sure that you have that connection with them and continue to make sure that you're saving time with the resources, utilizing the tools, and making sure that you understand what they're going to be learning and you understand it before they do because the students are getting a little bit ahead of us on the AI. And I feel that it is intimidating and scary to use, but we have to continue to try to learn how to use it because the students are going to be passing us up on the learning curve of AI. And because it continues to change on a daily basis, I feel that it's important we have to learn a little bit more about AI every week. So if we can try to incorporate it, whether that's in Copilot that's already embedded in your Outlook, or simply using Canva, asking ChatGPT to create a lesson for you, uploading maybe your previous year's lessons and seeing how you can improve them or modify them, make them more digestible for students or making them more digestible for yourself to understand, creating project-based learning assessments is going to be the best way to avoid any potential cheating with AI because I've seen it to where students can just look up the answers with AI and chat GPT it, not understand the process. But if you're asking them to do assignments that are project-based learning or incorporating some type of critical thinking that they can't just look up through AI, you're going to get the creative thinking, you're going to get the response that you want from your students. So making sure that you understand that and the prompting is what it comes down to for the AI, because I know earlier in this session, somebody mentioned that it does take time to customize your prompts. So it does take time to customize it. In the beginning, it'll feel like it's taking more time, but once you start learning how to use AI, it's going to learn how you think and it's going to kind of learn your routine and it's going to understand, okay, well, this is what she teaches. This is the lesson that she needs. This is, okay, it's Thursday. So this is what she's going to do this day. And I know that she gives a quiz to her students every week. So the AI is going to be your personal, assistant. It's kind of going to help you with your lessons, with your grading, with your time. The biggest thing is the time saving. That's the biggest benefit that I've seen from using AI tools for teachers is the time saving. And then again, making sure that you're double checking it and kind of proofing it to where your students aren't able to just Google it or look up the answers using AI because there's ways to get around it. And I know that teachers can understand right off the bat if your students have used AI because AI uses certain words repeatedly, and you can tell that they looked it up in AI right off the bat, and then you can have them redo it, and you can have them do a project-based learning assignment, do an oral assessment, have them do a presentation where they can't use any AI. There's ways to get around it, and there's ways to work with AI. And those are things that we have to understand as educators is working with it. Yeah. So students don't want to take the time to do the research. I think that's true in some senses, but at the same time, if we think back to when some of us were in high school, just memorizing certain dates and times, students really weren't learning what they needed to know. They were just putting it in their short-term memory and then kind of forgetting about it. So again, AI is changing how we teach. So we have to change how we deliver the lessons to the students. So I've seen this with high school students. They don't want to do the research at times. But again, it just depends. We can tell them not to use AI, but they're going to continue to use AI. So that's the thing. How do you, if we continually tell them not to do something, they're going to do it even more. And there's no way we can stop them, even if we block it on the district laptops. They can use their personal devices. They can go online and use AI apps, and they are doing it for, they've been doing it since before the Chat GPT. They were using photo math. They use different apps where they're looking up the answers, the process. A lot of times it's the students not understanding the concepts. And so that's why they look up the answers to some of the things. So that goes back to delivery of teaching and how they're understanding, checking for understanding, finding different ways to check for understanding. So that way the students feel that they don't need to look it up on AI, and making sure that they understand, or giving them a different type of assessment depending on the subject. But then again, there's no consistent across California, there's no consistent policy on AI. So that's why California's been rolling out a lot of training on AI for teachers, but there's no consistent policy that they have across California on AI use. So a lot of districts are just saying, don't use it, and that's it. So it just depends on your subject, on your area of teaching, and then in your classroom, that's your prerogative. And you can tell the students, in this classroom, we do use AI, but for certain things, or, we don't use AI, and that's the bottom line. We don't use it. But again, working with the K-12s and the community colleges, we've noticed that employers are looking for those skills. They have to know some type of AI. So our students, I feel like we're doing them a disservice if we're not teaching them a little bit about AI, what AI is, how to utilize it in your work tasks. A lot of employers are doing research right now and asking their employees to let them know exactly what did you use the AI for, which apps did you use, and how much time did it take you to complete the task. So it goes back to those skills, the essential skills that we want our students to graduate high school with and move into college, because it's going to be a little confusing for students if they graduate high school and the whole time, they were saying no AI, you can't use AI. And then they get into a classroom in college and the instructor is allowing them to use AI, and they're telling them that they can use AI, but they have to use it a certain way. So it's kind of conflicting. So in a sense, I see it on both sides. Obviously, I don't want students to be cheating and just getting the answers because they're not learning anything. But again, it takes it back to the soft skills. AI is one of those essential skills that employers are looking for in students and graduates, and they're going to have to embrace it because it's not going anywhere. And it's not going to take everyone's job, but it is going to be taking a lot of the coding. But as far as teachers are irreplaceable, and we just need to change and pivot and change the way that we present the material to students and how we assess students. Does anyone else have a comment on teaching or AI, or a question?
I do. I do. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. So, I was so scared to use AI like many months ago because believe it or not, I discovered ChatGPT last semester. I didn't do anything. I have just doing by myself everything. But because the English is not my first language, I was so hard. It was so hard to do the essays for me. It was so hard. So in this semester, I did two things with the AI, and I see like, oh my goodness, it's nice. But I did everything by myself. I just let the ChatGPT help me to figure it out with some of the how do you call sorry. Let me think. How's it called when they fix it? You essay just to put the dot, to put the all
Oh, the grammar.
the grammar. Thank you.
Mhm.
So and then my teacher she just told me that I'm not allowed to use it, and I said okay, but how can I just fix it on my grammar because it's not my language is not my first language, and I need to fix it because I know there's some of the words right there, it doesn't look like it was me, but I did everything. I did. I just want to let them help me to figure it out. So I don't know if everybody's allowed to use it or not allowed, or the teacher, some of the teachers, they're happy to see, the AI to help it.
So were you able to change the assignment and resubmit it?
Yeah, she gave me a chance to do it. So I said, okay, let me do it again. I will do it in my own, that was my own words, everything. And I sent it to her, and she said, okay, this is better. But I was like, when I see my essay, I was like, oh, it looked like really nice. Those were some words that I really don't have idea that I can put in my sentence. I said, okay, it sounds really nice. Yeah, she fixed everything. The AI fixed everything for me. But it was, can you help? Can you wait me a second? So I said, okay, it sounds really nice and it looks really nice. But she told me that she gave me a really low point because she said the grade is low, Jenny, because you use the AI. I said, yeah, but everybody use that one. I didn't know that one. Really don't know how to figure out my essay.
No, thank you for sharing. That brings up an example. I recently finished teaching a leadership course with West LA, and I had a lot of students that were ESL and that had, they were learning English, and I gave them the opportunity to turn in their work in their words. And if they used AI to translate it, then I allowed them to do that. Or if they used another program to translate it, I allowed them to do that as well. I just asked that they cited it. So it just depends on your instructor and it depends on the assignment. Obviously, if it comes down to, I know a few other people in the chat had mentioned using AI just solely for cheating or getting the answers, and that's a whole nother issue. But if you're putting the words having difficulty with grammar because that's not your first language, then you shouldn't be penalized for that. But again, it just depends on the teacher and the assignment, the structure of the course, whether it's actually considered, I would say, cheating, plagiarism, whatever the case is, or you're just putting the words, putting that down in your words or using an app such as like Grammarly or something to check your grammar, then that shouldn't be penalized. Has anyone else had any issues with students or had a topic that they wanted to mention? I know Anita said that students do engage when they care about the subject, and 100% I agree that they do. A lot of students, when they're engaged in something, and especially I know we had mentioned entrepreneurship and CTE. A lot of our CTE students have higher enrollments because they're engaged in the subjects. They're engaged in the career education classes. So they do have higher enrollment in CTE courses, career education courses than general subjects. So I agree. A lot of the classes, a lot of the elective courses, the vocational subjects are the courses that students show up to school for. Those are the classes that they're passionate about. They want to learn about it. And anytime we have students that are engaged in these courses, they're eager to learn the information and they always show up, they always do their work, and they're always engaged in listening. So again, it comes down to the delivery of, the lesson and making sure that if we are utilizing AI as a thought partner, as a resource, that we are catering it to and customizing it to students and making sure that we are creating lessons that they can understand and that are not too difficult for them and that are not, really boring for them. Because at times I know a lot of the subjects, depending on the subject, students they don't understand it. So that's when they feel that they need to cheat a lot of times. And they don't understand the material, the concept. And that's why they go to, well, I'm just going to look it up or I'm just going to Google it. I'm just going to use AI to find the answer. So it goes back to the teaching, the concepts, the resources that are available for students. And now we can even use AI to create chat bots where students can go to if you have a website or if you have an email link for them that can answer as a resource that can answer questions for them. Maybe you're not available and they can answer questions regarding your class, regarding your syllabus, I know there's a lot of issues right now with Canvas. I think I saw an email that there's a cybersecurity issue with Canvas. in the community college system today. So, depending on the information that you're getting to your students, AI can be a good resource. AI can be something that you don't use in your classroom. And then don't forget to enter the drawing so you can win something. I know Emily, thank you, Emily. She just put an announcement. Yes, Dell, you have a comment?
Yes, I was going to somebody brought it up on the canvas. It's being hacked. What's going on? I'm scared.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I got a few messages from a couple of the colleges that I work with. And then I also saw it on LinkedIn that Canvas is not available because of cybersecurity issues. So, it does happen within school districts. That's why they always mention to make sure not to put any of your personal information on the school emails and whatnot, because sometimes, or you get spam emails. Sometimes people click on them and they get a virus and then they get into the system. So it just goes back to privacy on your accounts. Anita, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say that I can feel for Sabrina because English is not my first language either. So, and I've been using ChatGPT to reformat my emails. But I wanted to ask you a question about the regional task force. I was reading here on the website. You say you are with Los Angeles Regional Consortium AI Task Force. I've been
Yes.
trying to put together a curriculum to teach AI to high school students. I teach CTE. I'm a CTE certified teacher right now. And I was wondering if your organization offers a support with creating class curriculums.
Yes, you can email me. I'll send you my email and I can give you some information on it.
Okay, thank you so much. And I just wanted to comment something about student engagement. Um, I use ChatGPT to literally brainstorm um, ideas on how to increase student engagement because at my age, I don't really think like they think, right? It doesn't matter how much I try to relate. Sometimes it's difficult, and I don't know all the slang, Gen Z slang. So ChatGPT was a big help in creating like fun and engaging presentation and interactive. I can ask for yeah, just give me some ideas how to make this boring subject interactive, and I think it's very important for us to teach them how to use AI. It's the future. Actually, it's not even a future. It's the present. It's here. Just living in denial, it takes away from, it takes something away from them. It's our responsibility to adapt and teach them and help them stay, current and with their skills, especially because it's such a great demand, when it comes to the workforce. And just to give an example, ChatGPT gave me an idea on, I wanted to teach them how to fact check. The concept is called lateral reading. And I tried to find subjects online, and all of them were very serious, very boring. And ChatGPT told me about a story of a baby beluga who was suspected to be a Russian spy. And so that was my subject. And I cannot tell you how engaged my class was. They were like absolutely crazy about the story. So they applied the concept naturally and organically because they were really interested about the subject. But I could not have come up with that. I did not know anything about it. So AI was very helpful. If it is a tool, it's an amazing tool. Um, and I think it's our responsibility to teach them how to use AI responsibly. That's these are my 2 cents.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for mentioning that. And I do agree with you because I feel we are, holding the students back. They're going to be asked in their jobs, have you used AI? How do you use it? Because we want them to be efficient. We want them to have the soft skills, be able to communicate in writing and orally, and then they can be asked these questions during the processes. And again, thank you all so much for being here. I did share the PDF version of the slides and resources in it will be emailed out to you. And then if you have any final questions, now would be the time to ask.
Hello, everyone. I'm Leah Martinez. Sorry, Sabrina. I just want to remind everyone, please make sure that you that you click on the link for the opportunity drawing so you can enter your name. And the winners will be announced this afternoon and tomorrow as well. We'll also have opportunity drawings. So join us tomorrow as well. I posted the site on the chat. Let me know if you can't find the link. But I also wanted to Anna, we also have a webinar session for CTE faculty. I don't know if you've heard about it, but our last session is going to be on AI as well. So if you're interested in that, I'll be happy to send you that link as well.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate.
Not a problem. I'll put the link on the chat right now, but this is for CTE faculty. And well, any teacher actually who's interested in AI is welcome to.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Again, and I want to honor everyone's time. Thank you for logging into the last session. I know sometimes by the end of the session or by the end of the virtual conference, everyone is kind of tired of being on Zoom. So I appreciate you for logging into my session. Again, the resources will be emailed out to you. If you have any questions, please feel free. I'll put my email in the chat and you can send me an email if you have any questions regarding anything that was presented. Or if you have any questions about AI, again, I do recommend going into the LARC AI library. And then we do have a session tomorrow that's recorded if you're able to log into that as well under the LARC calendar.